Hey, what's up, everyone? Brandon here, aka Scourge of Vinyl, and I am back. Before I get into this video, I just want to say I was kind of having a little internal tug-of-war about whether I wanted to continue on making videos or not, and there's a few reasons for that, but mainly it's so pathetic. I was starting to get some really hateful, really negative comments directed not only towards me personally, but the whole YouTube community in general. And at first, it was very discouraging, very frustrating. I just don't have time for that kind of negativity in my life. But so many of you have, in the past couple of months, said, "Hey, where are the videos? I really enjoy them." Just basically the continued support from the people who do watch these videos, the people that actually appreciate them for what they are, has made me lean towards continuing on. So to those of you out there who really do appreciate what I do, this one goes out to you. So this video is going to be stone cold classics of the black metal genre. I saw Brain Smasher do one of these. I saw Marty Worm do one. I saw Pat Ground Zero Salem do one. I think it originated from a Facebook post. But I love doing these kind of response videos because someone else does the heavy lifting, coming up with a great topic for a video, and I just get to throw my 2 cents in because I'm a fucking idiot who can't think of cool shit to post. But yeah, none of these are in any particular order. I just tried to do my best to pick some obvious ones. I tried to pick some more cult classic ones, and I tried to pick bands from all over the world, all bands that influenced their own respective regions in their own way. So without further ado, the classic to end all classics, Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. Could have gone with Hellhammer here, but in the grand scheme of things, I love Hellhammer, don't get me wrong. But Hellhammer musically is about as primitive as it gets, and musically it's not very good. It's influential as all hell. It's got all the heart and soul of Tom Warrior, but when it comes to comparing Hellhammer to Celtic Frost and then all the bands that would follow afterwards, hands down, I feel like Celtic Frost is the better band. Morbid Tales is, to me, the definitive Celtic Frost material. You could say to Megatherion, and I wouldn't put up a fuss, but for me, it's Morbid Tales. And Switzerland. Not a ton of bands coming out of Switzerland at this time, and they were kind of secluded to their own area. They were able to take outside influences, but also make their own, create their own sound, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for that. And if there was any place to start, it's right here. And then coming up next, Mayhem's Live in Leipzig. Kind of strange to include a live album in a list of stone cold classic black metal albums, but I really feel like this is the classic Mayhem lineup with Dead on vocals and Euronymous on guitar. Yes, it is a live recording. Yes, it is from 1990. Yes, the recorded quality is pretty much garbage, but you still get the essence of what Mayhem was at the time and what they were really going for, what they were striving for. And I think it's pretty incredible. This is pretty much a time capsule put on wax. And it takes you back to a time where black metal was still growing, still evolving, now in the second wave of black metal. And I'll always wonder what De Mysteriis Dom Satanis would have sounded like with Dead. I'll always wonder what they would have gone on to become. Not to take anything away from what Mayhem is now. Personally, I'm not a fan of everything that they've done, but they're still around, still active, still doing stuff, so props to them. Definitely a classic band and a classic record, in my opinion at least. Darkthrone, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. I was tempted to pick Transylvanian Hunger, but I think that's the super obvious one. Darkthrone alone had to be on this list. Absolutely classic stuff. I chose A Blaze in the Northern Sky because for me personally, it's my favorite Darkthrone album. In the Shadow of the Horns is maybe one of my favorite black metal songs, period. Not even maybe, it is. And, after Soulside Journey, this record came out. Soulside Journey, for those of you who don't know, is Darkthrone's first full-length album, and it is a death metal album. This, their transition to black metal, there was no transition period. They went from straight up being a death metal band to being a black metal band, and it's amazing without any sort of... Oftentimes when you see bands transition sounds, you will have a couple of bridge albums in between to kind of bridge the gap in between genres or in between styles. So for them to just flat out come up with this and just straight up classic. I mean, that's why it's on this list. That's why it's considered as such. That's not even my opinion. That is generally a known fact at this point. And to keep it in Norway, obviously a ton of classic Norwegian black metal bands. Immortal, Battles in the North. Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, which is pretty straightforward black metal to me. Then you have Pure Holocaust, which you can see Immortal trying to harness their own sound, and I think that they really perfected it here on Battles in the North. That really icy, really just, how does it go? Grim and Frostbitten. Grim and Frostbitten Kingdoms, Battles in the North, Blashrick, Mighty Raven Dark. Tons of classic songs on here, not to mention the iconic cover art, Abath and whatever the fuck his name is. God, I should know that. Demonaz. But, yeah. Classic. Again, this is the more obvious stuff, the stuff that you should know. If you don't, stop watching this video and go check it out immediately. Coming up next, Enslaved, Frost. Much like Immortal, they were able to create that icy atmosphere, but they leaned more towards the Viking style, whereas Immortal did not. And that's really what kind of set apart Enslaved in the beginning of all these second wave black metal bands. It's just a flood of, who's who, just one band after another. Certainly, there were some bands that stood above the rest of the pack, and Enslaved, absolutely one of those bands. Check that out. It's pretty fucking Viking right there. Moving on to Greece. Rotting Christ, Thy Mighty Contract. What can I say? This is the band that put Greece on the map. There's other bands, Necromantia, Acherontis, certainly. You can comment below if you feel like I neglected a couple Greek bands, but Rotting Christ, hands down, the quintessential Greek black metal band. Almost all of the bands coming out of Greece after this wanted to sound like Rotting Christ. A lot of them do. A lot of them are not as good. Rotting Christ now, their style has shifted so dramatically, but this album and the follow-up Non Serviam, as far as I'm concerned, the pinnacle of Greek black metal perfection. Stunning, stunning album. Blasphemy, Fallen Angel of Doom. Canadian bestial black metal. The band that spawned what seems like 1,000 clones. And really all of their material is classic. You have the Blood Upon the Altar demo, you have Fallen Angel of Doom, you have Gods of War. All of it could have been on this list, and this is really the only bestial style band that will be on this list because it's the only band that needs to be on this list. Every other band owes Blasphemy a debt of gratitude for taking this style, and really this is as good as it gets. Some people don't really like this style, and that's fine, but I think you at least have to appreciate what they did for that genre, or at least that subgenre, whatever you want to call it. now on to some more cult classic type stuff. And as far as U.S. black metal goes, this is one of the bands that really kind of paved the way, I would say. Black Funeral. And here we have Empire of Blood. Now, of course, there's bands like Profanatica and Demon Sea, and then later on you have bands like Leviathan and Zasthur, and, you know, a ton of others. I'm not going to sit here and name them all. But Black Funeral, pivotal as far as black metal in the United States goes, and this their second offering. I picked this one because it's a little bit longer than their debut full length, and the riffs on here are just undeniable. Any fan of the black metal genre can put this album on and recognize that this album fucking riffs, and that's it. That's what makes it a classic. For the people that know it, for the people that don't know it, this is one of those gems that you need to come across either through a video like this, or you just happen to stumble upon it your own. Once you find it, you'll know this is mandatory shit. Another band from Switzerland. Here we have Samael, Worship Him. I talked about how primitive Hellhammer was before. Samael took that blueprint, upped the musicianship just a notch, and put out their debut with Worship Him. It's total Hellhammer worship, but done the Samael way. The shit is fucking as evil as it gets. The next one, Blood Ritual, they pile on, they build off of this, and then Ceremony of Opposites, you start to get into a little bit more technical, a little bit more, you know, they went on to be kind of an industrial gothic type of band, and I think on Ceremony of Opposites you get a little taste of that, but it's still a great album. This to me is their classic album, Worship Him. Just heavy as all get out. It really is. Then we have Sodom and the Sign of Evil. Now, most people know Sodom as a German thrash band. This, I think, is proto-black metal. It's black metal before people kind of knew what black metal was in that area. It's almost black metal by accident. I mean, you look at the band aesthetic at the time, too, and it fits the profile. It really does. And then when you listen to this, yes, it's thrashy, but it also has that bleak, raw evilness that was inherent in first wave and second wave black metal. And I really think that this album influenced a lot of second wave black metal bands. They were all fans of the thrash bands at the time, and they without a doubt took influence from those thrash bands and then just made it darker, more evil. And I really think that this is a milestone as far as black metal goes, as well as thrash metal. But that's really, you know, blending genres, kind of nitpicking. You can say it is, you can say it isn't, whatever, I don't care. Then we get to Finland. Here we have Impaled Nazarene with Suomi Finland Perkele. You could have gone with Tolkamt Nors. Could have gone with Ugra Karma. This is the original cover that Osmos got sued for because Impaled Nazarene used it without permission, although I far prefer the original to the reissue cover arts. But I went with Suomi Finland Perkele because it screams Finland. I mean, what this band and the next band I'm going to show did for the Finnish black metal scene, that really put them on the map. I mean, there's a ton of great Finnish black metal bands. Archgoat, Satanic Warmaster, Behexin, you know, the list goes on. But, you know, a lot of people, when you think about Finnish black metal, Impaled Nazarene should be at the top of the list. This is classic stuff. Absolutely. Had to be on this list. And then this one, Beherit, Drawing Down the Moon. This is the definitive Beherit material for me. The stuff before it is just so unbelievably raw, so lo-fi, so caustic. Very, very hard to get into unless you kind of know what you're getting into. This is a little bit more listener-friendly. I wouldn't call it listener-friendly, but it's certainly more listener-friendly than, say, At the Devil's Studio or The Oath of Black Blood. But, yeah. Finnish black metal supremacy right here. It doesn't get any better than this. And finally, we move down to South America. And here we have Volcano with Bloody Vengeance. There was a very ripe scene in South America in the late 80s, and it certainly spawned tons of great bands to come. There's a whole slew of South American bands that, if you're not familiar with, go on, do some research. I'm not going to do the work for you because I'm lazy. But just get into that shit because there's a ton of great bands. And Volcano, with this album, absolutely influential. This is definitely more of a cult classic. I feel like the casual black metal listener might not know about this band or this record, but if you want to go deep into the history of black metal, especially the first wave of black metal, this is an album that you need to know. Very raw, very primitive. It just kind of it's the epitome of first wave black metal in South America at the time. I really feel like those bands, they didn't set out to write black metal. They just wanted to write something that was extreme, and it just so happened to turn out as first wave black metal. And then Sarcophaga, INRI or INRI, whichever way, I don't know. This came a year after Bloody Vengeance, so undoubtedly both bands from Brazil, both bands definitely feeding off each other in that tight-knit scene at the time. Both bands went on to influence a band like Sepultura, who would go on to become fucking massive compared to the likes of Volcano or Sarcophaga. This is just sleazy. Just take a look at some of the song titles. Satanic Lust, Desecration of Virgin, Ready to Fucky, Death Thrash. I mean, essential South American stuff. The influential reach of a band like this at the time knew no bounds through the tape trading scene, through word of mouth. Sarcophaga was the band at the time that was on the tip of everyone's tongue when you mentioned extreme metal in South America. And that was like 15 albums. Some people did like 12 or 13. There's a couple bands that I really wanted to fit on there. Bathory, of course, Marduk. But I just wanted to keep this list condensed. I wanted to cover as many areas as possible, and I wanted to show some albums that were a little less obvious. I mean, everyone knows the Bathory shit, so kind of pointless to show what I'm sure was on everyone's list. But yeah, so I mean, it's not a definitive list. It's just what I came up with. There's certainly hundreds of what you could consider classic albums. There was nothing after, I think, 1995 in this list. 95, Battles in the North, Immortal. Everything else is from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So nothing new, which, I wanted to focus on that as well. I wanted to focus on the history of black metal. And I think I did a decent job. But if I didn't, fucking let me know. Talk shit in the comments. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm back. I'm here to stay. And there's nothing that any of you fucking pathetic losers can do about it. So, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And thank you for continuing to subscribe. Until the next time. Take care, motherfuckers.